Hello again and welcome to my workshop. So today this is the second in this series showing you the very beginnings of wood turning, and today we're going to turn this lovely bit of Blackwood, actually Australian Blackwood. It's fairly hard wood. This has been in my shop for years, so it's really dried out. I wouldn't advise new starters to, for instance, go and get a beautiful log like this, cut a piece off and start turning it. Not straight away anyway. We will get to that. So this is a piece of planking actually that's just been cut off and put in a bandsaw and cut to a rough circular shape. You don't necessarily, need to use a bandsaw. You can use a handsaw if you want to, but that's entirely up to you. So what we're going to do, we're not going to use a spur drive. We're going to use first of all a faceplate. So we're going to find the center of this and screw the faceplate on, and we're going to turn the back of the bowl first, and we're going to machine a small tenon on the back. Actually, we might do a mortise, not sure yet, there is a difference. Then we're going to put this scroll chuck onto the lathe, and I'll change these segments out to a different set of jaws, and I'll show you how to mount it, mount the piece of wood onto the chuck, and then we'll scallop the inside out. So the first job is to remove this spur drive. Now it's in what they call a Morse taper. Now I'll show you what one of those are, but I'll show you how to remove it first. With your lathe you should get a rod similar to this that just fits in through the back, and you give it a nice bit of a tap and out it'll come. So you can see it's tapered on its shank, and there's a corresponding taper inside here, although there is a hole all the way through. Okay, so I've just discovered actually there's a bit of worm in this, so that's going to be the back of the bowl. So we're going to be cutting that out, so I think it'll be okay. And there's a little bit of a crack in here that I've actually put super glue in. That must have been a few years ago, because I can only just remember doing something about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the center of this. So what we can do is just eye this onto there now, and it's going to be good enough. So what I'm going to do now is get some screws and screw this on. Now right from the very start of learning to use a lathe, start with the right and safest practices first. Now I see a lot of wood turners out there offering this up to their shaft here and switching the motor on and letting the motor wind this in. That's highly dangerous. That's asking for trouble. Don't do it. That's why there's a big knob on the end of here. If you are offered a lathe, if you look at the preceding video to this, and I discuss the makeup of this lathe. If you are offered a lathe which does not have the items on that you see with this one, my advice is don't buy it. So that's telling you. You'll be wasting your money. Okay. Anyway, that's tight enough. You no need to do it any tighter, because as you start to machine it, it's turning this way, the lathe is turning this way, and when you present the tool to it, it'll actually naturally tighten up So and you know that you should have a supplied a spanner with it to be able to undo it. Okay, so we have our first piece of material for our first very simple bowl mounted in our lathe. So now what we're going to do, the first job we're going to do is we're going to make it a round cylinder, because it is a bit lumpy, as you can see, but it's better than having a square piece of plank on here. It's a lot better to round the corners off first. Gives you a lot less work. It saves you a lot of time. So I'll just go and get geared up, and when I come back we'll start doing the turning. Okay, so we've got the lathe set on the slowest setting, and we've got the speed turned right back. So it's going to start up. I think there's about a 2-second delay after you press the on switch that the motor will actually start up. And we're going to get our spindle gouge first, which has just been sharpened, I believe. Yep. And that's another thing too. Always keep your tools, or constantly sharpen your tools. You keep a nice crisp cutting edge. Whoop, you can see now. Keep a nice crisp cutting edge on your tool, and life will be a lot easier for you. So okay, here we go. So we're just going to face this off now, nice and true. You know, it's a bit out of shape, so we've got some cutting to do to get it down. So here we go. Don't be too keen to push in and really sort of take a deep cut, because you'll start the tool bouncing, and you'll be cutting off material where you don't want it cut off. This is very hard because it's dried out. In fact, we'll use the roughing gauge. There we go. See the difference? It's got a much broader cutting surface, so you see the shavings coming off. I'm trying not to let it bounce. You see the shavings coming off. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Yeah, about 800. So if you turn the speed up a little bit more, depending on how the wood is cutting, it actually reduces some of the bouncing of the tool. What I'm actually doing is I'm putting a little bit of pressure down on the actual tool rest as well, to make it, to give some resistance to stop the tool from bouncing back out when it meets the material. While a day away, okay. It's pretty round there now. I've got a bit of a flat spot there, look. So we'll go down a little bit more. I don't think that crack's going to bother us. But there's quite a bit of worm in this. Okay, we'll keep going. Actually, that's okay. We're going to call that good now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to face this off flat and start to machine this round a bit, and we'll have a look. We'll have a look at this crack and see what we can do with it, or decide whether it's going to be a problem to us. Okay, so what we're going to do is move this and reposition slightly below center height, and about 1/4 inch or 5 millimeter, 6 millimeter away from the surface, and we're going to face it off a little bit. I'm going to use my bowl gauge for this, the big bowl gauge, because I've got what is commonly known as a fingernail grind on this, and what I'm going to do is present both cutting surfaces at the same time to the face of the wood and draw it out. Now what that does, it allows me for the bottom side, or the bottom cutting surface, to machine some of the wood, but the top one is scraping as well and stopping the bottom one digging in. Okay, so I've got both at the same time, and it's sort of cutting and scraping at the same time, but it's the top surface is stopping the tool from digging in too deep, and so it eliminates what they call catches. In other words, the tool catching in deep and trying to take this out of the chuck, or taking a big chunk out. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now this is a shear scraping. It's what's commonly known as shear scraping. It goes something like this. So if I wanted to cut a little more, what I do is just rotate the chisel just a little bit. And the farther you rotate it around this way, the angle of the cutting surface becomes more acute and it digs in for a deeper cut. The unevenness you can hear is the cutting edge coming into contact with this knot. Real tough bit of knot that is. Oh, the crack only goes as far as there. I think we're going to be okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to machine some of this around and see what happens. But this is what wood turning is all about. The wood itself will determine what the end product is going to be. You've got to be prepared to change your original idea of what you think you're going to make out of a particular piece of wood. You know, after every set of cuts, you have a look at the wood, and you know, something that will appear, whether it's a piece of knotted area or a split, and you have to change your mind and machine it differently. So that's what I mean by saying the wood will determine what the outcome is going to be. Okay, what I'm going to do now is mark this bowl to machine a tenon. Now I use calipers like these, but if you do use something like this, don't put the two legs in together, because it'll catch and spit back out at you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball with this one, and this one I'm going to actually put into the wood and make a mark. And this diameter then is going to give me the correct diameter that I need to machine for my chuck to fit inside and then open out and capture the piece of wood like that. So turn it down and start up, and I'll show you what I mean. So that you can see is too small. Out a little bit. And that's just right. That's the sweet spot. So good mark. So that's now the exact area that I need to machine out. So now I'll machine that out, and I'm going to use my parting off tool and also my spindle gouge to machine. Okay, so first off is the parting off tool. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit for this. Okay. This gives me a nice square entry. Now for this size bowl I only want to go in about 3 millimeters, which is 1/8 of an inch. So then I can get my spindle gouge. So I'm doing a push and a pull cut with this. So to start it off, what you can actually do is just present it to the center of the bowl there and just push in slightly, okay, and then roll the tool over and then pull it out. Got a little bit of pressure in towards the bowl as well. These are the 4 segments that we're going to interchange with the chuck now. And if you notice, they're angled. So what the action is, this is going to fit inside here and open out and hold the bowl or hold the material. So now I have to machine this angle now inside here. So the tool to use for that is a skew, because it just happens to have the right grind or the right angle. So we're going to use that, and we're also going to clean this area up in here with it. So here we go. So now we have the right angle in here for those jaws to grip onto. So now we've done that, I can now start rounding this. So I've just repositioned now the tool rest on this sort of front corner. I'll tuck my cravat back in. The reason I want you to wear this is to stop any of the shavings going on the mics. I've got a pair of mics in here, and on the last video they played up a little bit because I think they had too many shavings or something happened anyway. So okay, let's start to round this off. On with the face shield. and on with the turning. Don't be tempted to take too much off in a, sort of one cutting sequence. Take your time. Follow it around a little bit at a time. Okay, now you notice at the end of the tool what I make here is moving around a bit out of control. So that means the overhang of the chisel is a little bit too much. So stop the lathe. Now whenever you alter the setting of this tool post or tool rest, stop the lathe. Do not have the lathe turning and adjust this. I see a lot of turners out there just unscrewing this and repositioning it up to the material. Well, the lathe is still running. That's a recipe for disaster. Don't do it. So okay, so let's reposition this now like this. Minimum clearance of about 5 mil, about 1/4 of an inch, and then it minimises the overhang each side there. Okay, here we go. So just put a little foot on this. It'll be a wide base bowl, I think, like that. Just a simple little breakfast bowl or serving bowl. Now, to get this nice and rounded, what I use is the skew. Round it all off. That's beautiful, I like that. Even that cracker is okay too. I don't mind that crack in there. When we start to hollow the bowl out, we'll do something about that crack. Look at that. I'm using the skew. Just bring it up a little bit. So what we're going to do now is, as we got the bowl here and we can get to all the surfaces at the back, we're going to finish this bowl off with sanding. Now, I normally do my sanding on the lathe. You've got to be very careful, and I've been doing this for years. So, it's up to you how you do your sanding. So I can't sort of recommend this to new starters, but if you do this, very, very careful. Low RPM and sand. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy with that now. We can finish it off a bit more later. So what we're going to do now is, this is just to hold the shaft from turning, and spanner to undo this, like that. So now we'll remove this and I'll put the chuck on and change the jaws. And okay, so we just get the chuck, offer it to the thread, and that's all it is. Now I'll get the Allen key now that fits into these, and we'll take these segments off and we'll put the other segments on. It's simply done like this. So you can see how they're taken off now. And they're numbered on the back. So this is number 2. So we get number 2 segment. There's a, see a number on there? Number 2. See the number on that one? Number 2. The reason that they're numbered is because in behind you there's a big screw or a thread there that these run into, and each one of these is in a different position in that thread. Okay, so these are machined to suit. So when these come together onto a piece of wood, they're all perfectly lined up. That's what it actually means. So put that one on, snip him up a little. Don't have to over tighten them, just nice and firm, like that. Okay, so I'll continue now changing these. It's very repetitive, and I'll bring you back in when I'm ready to put the piece of wood on. Okay, so now we've changed the teeth over, we can wind this in, and so you see how they splay out. So we're going to splay them out now into the inside of that. I'll close them up, offer the piece of wood up, so now we're going to face it off and then hollow it out. Okay. So here we go. During some of this, I'll probably do a little bit of fast forwarding or high speed photography, because it gets a little boring, and the important parts I'll slow the video down, and so you can hear what I'm saying. So okay, so now we're just going to first of all clean this surface up to make it nice and even, and then I'll probably round this edge over, and then we'll start to scallop the bowl out. So you can see the action now, but you start off from the center. You can actually start from the outside as well, work your way in, but I feel happier. So starting in the center here, just dig in a little bit and draw it out. Don't want to be too thin a wall. This is my favoured method of actually hollowing a bowl out, is I start from here somewhere and push in. And this is a bowl gauge, incidentally, I'm using. So here we go. Continue to hold the bowl. Don't be too keen to take too much out at any one time. A little bit at a time. So what I do is just start the cut going there, then roll the tool over to minimize the amount of cut. Just push in, gently. Okay, so now we're getting to the point where it's necessary for me to rotate this around. I'll move him in slightly because the overhang was getting a little bit much, and because of the small bowl, you're going to be a little bit more careful. There we go. I hope I should be able to work here. You should be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so here we go. If I go much further, it's probably going to break. So really, you know, this is a demonstration piece, and as a first demonstration piece, I think we're going to leave it at that. We're just going to clean it up now. I'll clean it up with a scraper or a finishing tool, and then we'll get some sandpaper and sand it. And for a finish for this type of wood, I prefer to use cedar oil, actually. And what I normally do, slow speed, and just apply some cedar oil. There again, be very careful doing this. We're working with a spinning object here. Neighbour alert in the background there. That's my 85 kilo Mariner or Pyrenees mountain dog. Keeps the whole family safe. Well, that's beautiful, look at that. I'm going to take it off and put a bit more, soak a bit more into here. Look at that. A lot of people would have thrown that piece of wood away with all the grub holes in it, but look at it. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That knot in there as well, look. Beautiful grain on that wood. You'll see in some of the comments on other pieces that I've made that they would have chucked the piece of wood out because it was rubbish. But then when they see what you can actually do if you've got patience, you know, you can turn up a beautiful, beautiful little vase like that. But someone in a market somewhere will buy it. You know, I mean, you wouldn't be doing it for nothing. A little bowl like that, or a set of these little bowls, you know, a set of 6 of these little bowls, probably maybe $50 or $60. I mean, this is really nice wood as well, you know, especially with these. I mean, obviously you wouldn't put anything liquid in here, but as a presentation bowl, you know, to put trinkets in or whatever. Yeah, a set of these, maybe 4 to 6 of them, $50 to $60, and you can turn these out for probably, I mean, if I was just putting this on and just turn it out, I'd probably turn it out in about 10 or 15 minutes. 10 minutes. Fairly easy. And there you go. Your first bowl. So, thank you for joining me. And press like, subscribe to my channel. Excuse me. And pass it on to your friends, because that's how the channel grows in numbers. And the more views and the more likes and the more subscribers, it enables me to bring better and more videos to you. So thank you for joining me, and don't forget I've got 2 channels now. You can get to my second channel if you go to the banner on my YouTube channel, on this channel, and on the banner on the right hand side lower, you'll see there'll be a tag there to go to my second channel. Plus down below that in the preferred other channels, you can get to my channel there. So the second one down is Con O'Neill, so you can go to his YouTube page as well. Plus below this video there's details how to go to his website, and if you wish to see more or hear more of his tracks or purchase one of the albums. He's a singer-songwriter, originally from Ireland, as I sure you could tell. And yes, he's going to come in and perform. I'm going to teach him how to use a lathe and you know, for wood turning, and how to use the laser. He's very interested in the laser, and also CNC rotors. And in return, he's allowing me to use his tracks and his music on my videos. So until next time, bye for now.